Bookhaven. Bringing stories to life, one book at a time.
In today's video, let's talk about the book Revenge of the Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell.
All right, so we're diving into Revenge of the Tipping Point today,
Yeah, this one, it's like Gladwell took his old Tipping Point book, flipped it around.
showing us the dark side, like how those little things can have big, bad consequences.
Right, like things spiraling out of control, kinda.
Makes you think, right? Like about Miami, it's so unique. How did it get that way?
Or like, what can we even learn about raising kids from cheetahs? Seems random.
Totally random. And then there's this whole thing about Ivy League schools and their obsession with sports.
Not just academics, right. There's gotta be more to it.
And then this magic third thing.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one.
Let's unpack all of this, see what Gladwell's getting at.
Sounds good to me.
So first off, what struck me about this book was how Gladwell shows that these tipping points, the things that can cause these massive shifts, they don't always lead to good stuff.
Yeah, like, think about a virus.
Right, how fast it can spread.
Or how some criminal tactics, they just work, like, way too well.
Like those bank robbers in LA he talks about.
Exactly. It's not just them being smart. It's like they hit on some underlying thing.
Some weakness in the system.
Kinda, yeah. It's what he calls social engineering. Like, think about those emails, the ones with the links you shouldn't click, but you do anyway.
Oh yeah, all the time.
I was like, social engineering, mini style. Gladwell shows how people, like, exploit our behavior, how we act as a society to get what they want.
And sometimes it works scarily well.
Yeah.
But what I like is how Gladwell doesn't just throw facts at us. He tells stories.
Yeah, he's a great storyteller. Makes it all come alive.
Like that story about the TV show from the 70s. Totally obscure, but somehow it had this massive impact no one saw it coming.
Crazy, right? And he also does this alternate histories thing, like with COVID and the opioid epidemic.
So like, what if things had gone differently?
Yeah, like a rewind button on history. See how tiny changes could have made everything different.
It really makes you think about how fragile everything is. And then there's this whole concept of the magic third. Sounds kind of mystical.
It's about racial harmony, actually. Gladwell argues that if you hit a certain level of diversity, what he calls the magic third, it can lead to a more inclusive society.
So it's not just about numbers. It's about minority voices having enough power to actually make change.
Right, to challenge the status quo. It's a fascinating idea.
So we've got these big ideas, tipping points, social engineering, the magic third, but then Gladwell throws in these totally random connections. Miami and cheetahs.
He uses cheetahs as this metaphor for how we raise kids. Like, both face huge pressure to adapt, to compete.
So it's about the challenges of parenting in a world that's constantly changing.
Yeah, preparing kids for that. It's a new way to look at it.
And then there's this whole thing about Ivy League schools being obsessed with sports. It can't just be about winning games.
Gladwell argues it's deeper. It's about shared identity, building alumni networks, even affecting admissions.
So sports are like this hidden factor shaping these prestigious schools.
That's what Gladwell's saying. It's about more than meets the eye.
So after this deep dive, what's the takeaway? What's Gladwell trying to tell us?
I think he wants us to be aware of all these little things that are shaping the world around us.
Because even small actions can set off these chain reactions, right?
Exactly. They can lead to tipping points, good or bad. It's about being mindful of our choices, thinking about the consequences.
And that makes me wonder, what little things in our lives right now might be leading to some big change down the line? It's kind of scary, but also exciting.
Definitely something to think about.
So if any of this got you thinking, you should check out Revenge of the Tipping Point. It's a really fascinating read. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
See you next time.
Buy your copy of Revenge of the Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell at bookdelico.com.